Happy with the second half or disappointed with the first half?
Oh no, we're happy to get away with the win. I mean, that's what we came here for, and that was the obvious aim. In terms of how we achieved it, it was clearly a tale of two halves, and I think that's partly our responsibility and partly credit to the opposition, who put us under a lot of pressure and built a lot of pressure on us in that second quarter in particular. So, yeah, the result was good, but as there is every week, there's always things we can improve on.
And the message at half time, what was that?
Look, it was pretty extensive. There were a few things we needed to change. I mean, it started in the first quarter when, we basically we doubled the amount of handballs we'd had to kicks in a pretty high pressure game. So that invited the pressure on us a bit. So we had to address that. We certainly had to address our forward structure. The ball was bouncing out of there too easily, and so the players, to their credit, were able to adjust that. There are a few other little technical things, but largely it was, if you want to really simplify it into one term, it was simply work rate.
Looking forward to next round, though, you'd have to think you can't really afford to have that sort of early lapse.
Everyone has lapses in games. I mean, I don't see too many games played in this competition where you just absolutely dominate for 120 minutes. It's just not that simple. But granted that if we're not able to adjust quickly, then that'll hurt us. So that was the concern out today, that we took too long to adjust to what was happening. The opposition will get momentum and they'll get on top, but you've got to be able to nip that in the bud really quickly, and it took much too long today to get that done.
Quarter time, the cameras showed you quite animated towards the forwards. You seemed to march straight out there. Was that about them not applying enough pressure, or was that the message?
Yeah, their pressure was really, really poor in the first quarter. The structure that we wanted with our forwards got pulled apart completely, and our forwards were playing hopeful footy. And when you're in a competition, you can't go out and hope. But to their credit, in the second half, we got the just reward for the change in structure, system and work rate.
Just 15, I think, inside 50s in the first half break. Can you remember a game where you've had that few for a half?
I can't off the top of my head, Nick, but that's credit to St Kilda. They built the pressure on us. And they missed some shots. I'm sure you guys all know that. So, when you miss shots and you've got kick-ins and they're keeping it in their forward half really well, they were able to build that sort of pressure. So that was poor, but you look at the game as a whole, and scoring hasn't been an issue for us, and it wasn't again today.
Drew Petrie's almost probably in career best form. I thought he was probably one of the few four-quarter contributors today. I thought a few midfielders were good too, but I think Drew is clearly our dominant forward, and he's playing on a pretty good young player, Hugh Goddard and Sam Fisher at various stages as well. But I thought St Kilda's defence really took it up to us, and we needed to respond to the way they were playing us. I was quite impressed with St Kilda's back half, and in particular their pressure, which we knew coming in anyway, but I think they surprised our players even though they were forewarned.
Do you think when Sean Dempster came off with the blood rule, that was a bit of a turning point at all, just through their defence a bit?
I think it hurts them, yeah. I think Dempster's a great player. I mean, he's a 200 gamer now. He's really underrated, probably because, a bit like our Lee Adams, that because they don't seek the limelight, they probably don't get the kudos they deserve. So yeah, no doubt that threw them out a little bit, and it enabled our key forwards to get on top a little bit.
Any feedback on how Daniel Wells went in the VFL today?
Yeah, it's really sketchy, but we slated him to play a half. I think he had a 12 possession third quarter, and which was his first quarter. Copped a couple of bumps and bruises and came back on, and the feedback I've had was everything about his performance and the bumps and bruises, nothing about the Achilles. So far that's good, but we'll give you a more detailed report once I've got that information.
And did you see the Jack Siebel incident where he was reported?
Yeah, I did, but I mean, from my vantage point, it looked like a very slightly late spoil. I mean, the kick was directed to him, it fell short. The authorities will judge that on its merits. I didn't look at a replay, I only saw it live, so it's really hard for me to make a judgment. And even if I did make a judgment, I can't say anything.
Lindsay had, it seemed a bit of an up and down. How did you view it?
Yeah, he's spot on. You saw the best and worst of Lindsay today. And yeah, I think it's a credit to him that he responds really well. But yeah, he can't have those moments of poor discipline, which cost the team. But to his credit, he got back on the bike and was a pretty significant reason for us getting back in the game. But you know, he's been really good on that front since returning to the senior side, and he's got to continue that, otherwise he'll be under pressure again.
Ben Jacobs had 9 clearances today and curbed Jack Stevens' influence. Does that sort of suggest he replaced Levi in a sense?
It's a slightly different role. I mean, Levi was always a bit of a ball hunter. Ben's got a specific role which after quarter time he performed really well. But we always want our players, whether they've got a defensive role or not, if they can put themselves between, you know, the ball and their opposition player, then they should do that. And you know, Ben's a very good inside midfielder, you know, certainly as a junior in his own right. So his game will continue to develop on that front.
I know you're not a big one for giving a spray break, but did you resort to that at half-time today?
Oh yeah. I mean, quarter time and half-time there were some choice words, and I should apologise to some of our staff who copped it through no fault of their own. But sometimes it's the closest person who cops it.
And is Sean Higgins okay? He seemed to come off a little bit sore at the end of the first quarter.
He's just got a really minor knock to the head, but it was very minor and he was fine. But his knee, which was the issue going in, was really good.
You've now finally had that really hard stretch at the start of the year. You've now, you know, by the ladder, you'd have a softer run, won 6 in a row. Are you where you should be?
I think that's probably for others to judge. I mean, we're really aware of the really tough few weeks that are in front of us. So all we can do is just keep learning from our poor patches of play and really looking to become the sort of team we want to become, to be competitive against the best. And we've got 3 teams now above us on the ladder, or roughly, I think, as we speak. So, you know, they're going to be 3 really challenging weeks, which we welcome.
And it's the last game in Hobart this year. How's North Melbourne enjoyed its time here in Tassie?
Oh, I think the people of Hobart have voted with their feet. You know, I think the attendances have been really good. The surface always presents in pristine condition. You know, the people of Hobart have really embraced us, and you know, all our staff, all our players love coming here, and it's something we hope will continue, you know, long into the future, because the people of Hobart deserve AFL footy at the top level. And you know, whatever happens in the distant future, I think we can't take our eye off the short term, which is the people of Tasmania deserve AFL footy both in Hobart and in Launceston.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks.